Like, it's just very disturbing that someone could operate these things and have. I mean, how many? What is the estimated number of them?
That's a great question. I mean, at this point, I'm comfortable making a guess of probably over 800 or 1,000. And how many of those are sightings of the same object? How many of those are individual objects? How many of those are unique objects?
Right.
So it's tough to say, but this isn't just a few objects that people are seeing. And so I can imagine some technologies that will allow traditional UAVs or drones to operate without emitting, right? So they could have a self-contained navigational system, right? Maybe they have their own onboard maps and they're using cameras to map where they are.
So then they would be completely autonomous. You just send them out there and they would have a task and they would go through whatever their task is and navigate via their GPS or whatever tracking system they're using.
Exactly. And then, what is their task, right?
Right.
Is it just to instill panic and fear? Is it because they're sensing something? And if they are sensing something, they would have to be using what's called passive sensors, right? So like a camera system is passive, but if you're shooting a radar out and having it bounce off of something, that's active, right? And that's easier to detect than a passive system. So I could imagine, a fully self-contained autonomous drone system that is doing something potentially with passive sensors that allows it to operate without emissions, which is going to make it harder to track.
If they're doing it at night, if they do have passive systems like some sort of an optical system, wouldn't that be hindered by the low light conditions, or do we have stuff that is able to detect whatever they're looking for at night?
Yeah, depends what they're looking for, but ultimately there is tech. There's electro-optical systems, there's infrared camera systems, not unlike the jets or the systems that we had on my jet. But we were able to detect these objects with infrared when we were flying off the eastern seaboard. There are a number of reports from law enforcement that their infrared systems are not able to pick these objects up. And not just this year, but also the incidents over Langley last year. The pilots that responded to that incident, I've spoken to them, they weren't able to lock these up with their infrared systems either. So they do seem to be exhibiting some type of signature management.
That's interesting. So is the signature management so is it a heat signature that they're giving off? So maybe there's some sort of a cooling mechanism inside of these things? Like if they have a propulsion system, so you would imagine it's some sort of an electric engine, right? Because a lot of them are very quiet. That's got to be giving off some kind of heat, right?
Yeah, and that goes to some very base physics, right? Like we create heat whenever we have, stored energy and we utilize it. So to be able to mitigate that to such a degree that you can't even detect them at all, it's pretty tough. I mean, I can imagine you can reduce your signature. We do it in fighter jets, right? Through kind of just like baffles where we cover the engine essentially to make it harder to see. But to have zero ability to detect or lock onto these objects is not a technology I'm familiar with.
So other than that, are they exhibiting any type of movement that's extraordinary, or their ability to turn angles? Is there anything about them that points to this being superior technology?
It's tough to say. Based on what I've seen just in the public from reports and kind of amateur photographers and witnesses, some of them do seem to be making pretty sharp turns. I wouldn't call them like physics breaking turns, but they don't seem to be operating like a normal aircraft, right? So they're down low. They're making what appear to be pretty high G turns, maybe like 3, 4, 5 G turns at relatively low airspeeds, which is indicative of them having a pretty significant power supply, right? Anytime you turn like that, you're burning energy essentially. So for them to be able to make these high G maneuvers and then remain in the area for another 5 or 6 or 7 hours and still have the battery life or whatever's propelling them to then go over the ocean to a point where they're untrackable. Again, I'm not really familiar with that type of capability either.
I know they've shot at least one of them down, or people have shot. Have you seen the video? It looks like cops are shooting them down with shotguns in New Jersey.
I did see one video like that. I wasn't sure how real it was.
I don't know
hope
if
it's a
really,
cop.
It seems, I know, because it's like, hey man, when you shoot up, those bullets land somewhere. They can land on people.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard multiple people, representative officials, saying like, "Hey, government needs to step in and start being more clear because people are just going to take matters in their own hands. That's where people get hurt."
Well, there's also been downed ones, right?
I've heard rumors of downed ones, but I haven't.
There's video footage, and there's people driving in their car and they're cop cars are surrounding this thing.
That was a plane.
It was a plane?
I think that was a plane crash.
Oh.
Yeah, I think if that's the one you're referring to, there happened to be a small plane crash.
Can you find that one, Jamie?
Yep.
Okay. But again, this is the problem with social media, especially with someone like me who's just kind of scrolling for 5 minutes and go, what the fuck? And then, like, you know, my kids ask me something. I got to get out of the house. All right, let me put my phone down. You know, so I haven't done any kind of a deep dive, and I did that purposely just to try to pick your brain. Is this one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a plane.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah,
Maybe,
when they were driving by, they're like, look, it's a drone shot down.
Right,
But
that might be the one that I saw. I did watch a video. Did you see the video of the plane that crashed in Texas?
I don't know.
Pretty crazy. I'll send you that. But it's unrelated. But
we
a
need to
video
get
crashed in the
Elon
morning.
Musk to have like a special UAP task force within the community notes.
Elon is, look, he's oddly sly about this stuff. He, you know, outwardly dismisses UFOs. You know, he said, well, if they're there, they're very subtle. That's just... I'm like,
One might
okay.
expect that, but okay.
But I just feel like with his contracts with NASA and being involved in SpaceX, he can't talk crazy.
Yeah.
He talks crazy so much about other stuff, but when it's in this, you know, fucking multi-billion-dollar company that he runs, I don't think he can fuck around.
Yeah.
I don't think he can. You know, if it was something that he had no interest in at all in terms of like financial interest and business interest, I'm sure he would be commenting on it. But he's not commenting on it at all, which makes me go, You know, and I don't think he's going to tell me. I don't think I can call him up because I got a big mouth. I think he knows. I'll be out here talking about it. A guy I know.
Can't tell Joe.
Yeah, it's the thing that disturbs me is not just that this is happening. There's so many drones and all these people are seeing them. It's happening for so long and nothing has been done. There's no, you know, they're not scrambling jets to try to meet these things and follow them and track them. They're not shooting them down. They're not. It's just we appear so vulnerable because of this. Mm-hmm. Because if these are ours or if these are people just fucking around and it's not a threat, okay, great. But why is it so prevalent? Like, why are there so many of them, and why have there been nothing that these people that are trying to investigate this have been able to do that's effective to put a stop to this?
So there's some laws in this country that are a little bit antiquated when it comes to dealing with situations like this. So my understanding is right now these things are operating mostly in what's called Class G airspace, which is really low. It's away from airports. Not all, of course, right? They're over bases. So
they're over LaGuardia.
Yeah, yeah. But here's I think where a lot of the trouble is coming in from. I think the government has to make the presumption at this point, based off the feedback from the DoD and others, that if this is not a foreign adversary, then we have to make the assumption that it's a U.S. citizen that's operating these. Because of that, they essentially need a warrant in order to wiretap these.
What?
Yeah.
Even with the Patriot Act?
That's the feedback I'm receiving. That's the legal limitation.
Come on. They don't even need a warrant to get into my phone. Get the fuck out of here. I don't buy that.
Well, whether it's the reality situation or not, that's how they're proceeding, right? And so to overcome that, you know, there's like a 120-page report that needs to be filed all the way up to the Deputy Attorney General of the United States in order to even intercept these signals that they may or may not even be emitting to be able to determine where they're going. And so I think that's one part of what's like slowing down this whole investigation. On the other hand, for base commanders, they have limited authorities to protect their base, but when they do, they need to submit basically a request all the way up to the Secretary of Defense. All right, so now you have this like super politically charged situation with a lot of risk of objects flying over the U.S. If they take action and shoot one of these down, even with the Secretary of Defense's permission, you know, they're on the hook if that thing takes out a school bus or otherwise damages someone's property.
Or kills somebody.
Yeah.
Jamie, can you just do a quick search? Have there been drones that have been shot down?
I haven't seen anything. I was there's a story from what today is this? 2 days ago. New Jersey lawmakers were having a press conference asking if the government could shoot one down so they can inspect it. So, like, I'm assuming they haven't shot one down if they're asking to shoot one down that day, you know? I hear something new that I don't know if it's even worth bringing up, but this is a new story going on. They said this might be what some of this has to do with. I don't even know if this is
Missing radioactive, yes.
material.
Scroll up a little bit higher so I can see who put that up there.
There's a few people that have posted it.
Okay. Yes, I did see that. While looking at Nuclear Regulatory Commission alerts, one confirmed there's radioactive material that has gone missing on December 2nd, 2024 out of New Jersey.
I guess it was being shipped there, and it didn't make it. A container arrived damaged and empty.
Well, my understanding is these sightings started around November 18th.
Yeah, so I saw the November 20th too, so I don't know if that makes it related. But
So we should explain to people that didn't listen to our first podcast why you're uniquely qualified to talk about this stuff. Could you just please tell people your background so they understand what you used to do and how you got involved in this whole UAP thing in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So, formerly trained aerospace engineer in college, joined the Navy immediately after with the hopes to go fly fighter jets for the Navy. Was successful in doing that, and I flew the F-18 Super Hornet for 11 years and 2 deployments, primarily operating off of Virginia Beach. And pretty standard career until about 2013 or so, when we came back from our deployment. We began to upgrade our radar systems. When that happened, we put in essentially a much more powerful radar into our jet. It took about 8 months. So you might fly with a newer radar in the morning, maybe an older radar at night. And consistently, when we were flying with these newer radars, we were picking up a bunch of objects that were operating in our working area that we weren't seeing with the older radar. They were performing in strange ways. They would be stationary. They would be around 250 to 350 knots, kind of meandering around the area. Not really working together per se, but kind of clearly operating in the same vicinity as one another, right? So we weren't flying in formations necessarily.
Yeah, but I think that there's just very little that people really, the level of understanding that people have. Like, imagine the fact that we were fucking around with like nuclear bombs like 70 years ago. Like, no one even really knew what was happening. It's just like accidental, like just dropping them all the time in the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
It's like fucking crazy.
The videos are insane.
Dude, nuts.
I showed them to a friend of mine the other night at dinner. Like, this is what it looked like. And you see the look on his face when the fucking mile-high wall of water comes out of the ocean.
Oh, my God.
It's so big, it doesn't even make sense.
To the best,
like, holy fuck.
Right now, when everyone's talking about this Russian hypersonic missile, and like, can you believe this weapon that like Russia has? Like, I was like, wait a second. The U.S. spends like 10 to 20 times the amount of money on weapons than Russia does. We have all that shit. I mean, but the hypersonic missile, I mean, that's probably what those UFOs, quote unquote UFOs from the videos that were circulating a couple of years are just like, because those things are fucking crazy, man. The ramjet shit, that. But it's crazy. It's like Art Bell. When we used to drive on tour back in the day, like it'd be like we'd listen to Coast to Coast at night. There's nothing else, but you could find that scary ass shit, and you'd be looking over like the, Arizona skyline, like looking for shit.
Drive in the middle of the night,
hearing
listen
this,
to Art Bell. That's the best.
And like around the time we were doing that, like that's when Art Bell's like family got kidnapped. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And George Norrie would come on, and then they were talking about ramjets and all kinds of shit. Like, I mean, that shit. It's actually, I think the ramjet's what the powers the SR-71. Like, essentially, like it takes a whole tank of fuel to get that thing just up and going, like Mach 1 or 2, whatever, and then they have to refuel it to get it like ramming, whatever. So, but like those.
So they refuel them in the sky?
Yeah, it takes a whole tank to get them where they need to go.
That's the wildest shit ever. Pumping gas in the sky.
Dude, if you see like, the potential of these hypersonic missiles, have you? Dude, they like without even a warhead, they have like a megaton explosion just from the velocity of the speed. They can go like Mach 15 or something,
and they can change course.
Yeah,
they can't just predict. Oh, this one's going to go to Seattle. No, it can turn left. You can go south.
You know that scene in like it's like Superman 2 where they have the ICBM and like he's like riding it, like dude, that's fucking insane.
I think you're right. I think that's probably a lot of what those UFO sightings were. I think a lot of the other ones are drones, like the ones like the famous one is that Tic Tac one that they found off the coast of San Diego. I think in 2004, Commander David Fravor saw this object that they had tracked. They even recalibrated their device apparently to make sure that it was accurate. But they've read this thing at more than 50,000 feet above sea level, and it got down to 50 feet in less than a second.
Yeah.
And they don't know what it is, and they followed it around with their jets. And then the people on the Nimitz said, yeah, we've been seeing these for a couple weeks. These like super credible naval pilots, guys who really understand like what's possible and not possible. And they watch these things dart off and just vanish with the kind of speed that like is just impossible. No propulsion signature. It doesn't like show that like anything's coming out the back like a normal jet. It just looks like a Tic Tac, and it goes at an impossible speed. Like, what the fuck is that? That might be a drone. It might be some crazy fucking drone that they've been working on for decades, just not telling us about.
Oh, for sure.
And when I saw the Pentagon was talking about UFOs, and they were talking about things from alien worlds, I'm like, yeah, really? Or maybe you guys have been making some cool fucking shit, and you don't want everybody to know.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah, it's not us. We don't have any hypersonic fucking UFO-looking Tic Tacs.
It's like back to Phil Hartman when he does the unfrozen caveman lawyer. He's like, I'm not familiar with your modern ways, this legal system, but I do know my client's entitled to $3.5 million in punitive damages. It's like, it's alien technology. We don't know where it's
Why
from.
would the Pentagon ever tell us? Because I always wondered, like, because Tom DeLonge, he actually like worked with the government. Like, they brought him in to talk about aliens because he's that much of an alien freak. And I think they thought that would like help, you know.
Dude, he told me he was like, they're cloaked. They're all above us. They're cloaked and they're scanning. And honestly, what he was describing was like satellites tapping into all of our phones and listening to everything we do, which is, I think, actually happening.
Yeah, but they don't even need satellites to do that.
No,
they get right into the system. They can listen to everything you say. That's Gavin DeBecker, who's a security expert on my podcast, was explaining. You'd used to have a clickable link. It used to be a thing you had to click, and then you would accidentally, without your knowledge, rather download some sort of a software that would take over your phone. Now they don't need that. So now they just need your phone number. They get your phone number. They're just listening to you. They're watching everything you do. They can do whatever they want now.
Dude, imagine the stupid conversations that these people have to listen through.
Yeah, well, it makes people more aware of how fucking stupid your conversations are if you think they can come up in a trial with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Oh, my God.
That kind of shit, when you realize, like, oh, my God, like, everything you've ever said.
And he's now reading, like,
text messages and shit.
The vessel I donated my jizz to.
On this project, it tells me, as Robbie says, something's up. I mean, something's up.
Well, that was one of the weirder things about Bob's description of Area S4, about how compartmentalized everything was. About, one group worked on metallurgy, the other group worked on propulsion, and they didn't share information.
It pissed him off so bad, man.
Well, it was the way he described best is that scientific research, the way you progress is everybody works together. And it doesn't happen in a vacuum. So they were literally trying to do scientific research without the scientific method. They were trying to withhold information from them and only get them to concentrate on one aspect of this project without the whole group coming together and getting some sort of a comprehensive understanding of what these things are.
Bob said he wasn't the most qualified person to do the job either. That freaked him out. And he didn't have the right materials even.
Well, I think they probably, let's assume they are alien spacecraft. They probably knew that no one was qualified. They probably knew that we just really have no idea, especially if they had been working on these things for decades, like Bob assumed they had been. They probably had gone through the best scientists that they could, and they realized, look, no one has any idea. Let's get this out-of-the-box weirdo who puts jet engines in Hondas. Let's get some look, there's a lot of very strange people out there that are incredibly intelligent that, might not fit into your standard educational bundle or category of research scientist or whatever. He might just be a weirdo who likes to shoot guns and make hydrogen-powered Corvettes. Like maybe that's the kind of guy that's going to see something that maybe other folks haven't seen yet.
I think that's entirely possible. It's also possible that they used him to discredit the idea of crash retrievals forever. Let's bring this guy in, show him some stuff, let him spout it out, then we'll cut his legs off.
Yeah, but the problem is the reason why he spouted it out was, it was so clear that they had nothing to do with that. It was his wife having an affair, and he had top secret clearance. Because he has top secret clearance, they're monitoring all of his phone calls. They find out that the wife is banging her flight instructor, And so they say, listen, this guy's going to be unstable. We can't have him work there anymore. They suspend his working privileges, and he freaks out. And then he takes people to see the launch sites. He takes a look. They do this at a certain time period every week. I'm going to take you down there. He takes his friends down there. They get busted. They get arrested. It's just the actual verifiable facts of his being caught, the whole phone call thing, the fact that his wife was having the affair. There's no way they're playing that kind of 4D chess. This is the fucking government. Right. They're too goofy.
If I found out that Bob Lazar was lying to the world, I would be the first person to tell you. There's no reason I wouldn't. That was the whole reason I got interested. That's why I contacted George back in the day. I wanted to know if he was fucking making it up with Bob. And I'll attest to you, for whatever you value my opinion at, I have been with Bob in his life, met everybody, his family. The closer you get to his inner circle, the more you understand that he's telling the truth. And never once have I found something where I'm like, you're a fucking liar. Never once.
It's a weird thing. Like, the only thing that people kept pointing to in the podcast was that he was getting migraines.
But dude,
he
had migraine.
He had migraines. He had migraines earlier in the day. I mean, it wasn't, and you could tell he would stop. And he would wince. And, he just didn't like the idea that he was going to do this thing that he knew that millions and millions of people were going to see him talk about this for hours and hours. And he knew it was all going to come back up again. All the investigation, all the people fucking with him, all the attention that he had avoided. Another important point is this is not a guy who profited off of this story.
No.
This guy told this story for 31 years and didn't profit off of it.
The migraine might have been the McDonald's. His wife was furious at me because when I brought him over, I was like, just get some in your stomach, man. So I think it was bad food.
Well, it could have been that and the pressure, but the pressure is not
the pressure was deep
innocuous.
Because, he didn't know you. He didn't know if, you were just going to, start asking him about, his wife cheating on him. And, it's like... Right. It's stressful, man. I mean,
listen, I get it, man. I mean, that was one of the good reasons why we had dinner the night before with my buddy Andrew Schultz. And I brought Andrew along, too, because he's a really smart guy. And I said, just please, just pay attention to this motherfucker. Tell me what you see. Just if you see some bullshit, if you see some weirdness, let me know.
What'd he say?
Nothing. He said, I don't know. Yeah. He goes, if that guy's telling the truth, that is fucking crazy. Because Andrew's a comic, but a really good one and a really smart guy.
Smart, yeah.
So I just wanted... again, outside the box, have some guy who's not obsessed with UFOs at all, have him come. And, and Andrew asked a bunch of questions.
Andrew was at the bar before, when Bob and I arrived, we go up to the bar. I didn't know who Andrew was, right? And then Joe walks in, hey, Andrew, and he had been sitting right next to us. So if Joe was putting spies out, that was a good move. But, that it's so frustrating. It's fun, and I think I would have stopped, but George's been doing this 30 years. It's like you always get one step forward. And look, we all want to know if this stuff is true, but the weight of the evidence is so heavy now with the government programs and everything that you've been involved with. It's just an exciting time. And I think I learned more in this last year than all the time before. And I think that's going to continue. I don't think we're all of a sudden going to say, okay, this doesn't matter anymore. If this is real.
Yeah.
I'm not counting on any answers anytime soon. We may know more about what the government knows, but that's not the ultimate answer. I mean, what if it turns out these are not aliens, they live here? There's some other intelligence that we can't see. They can reach in like rats in a cage and pull us out once in a while or do experiments to us, and it's their planet. And we're living in this tiny slice of reality and don't realize what's going on around us.
There's a UFO. There's a UFC fighter, a woman named Angela Hill. She's a badass. And her grandfather is Barney Hill.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. And I didn't know until after the podcast. Her and I did a podcast together just talking about her fighting career. And then at the end of it, she goes, there's one thing I forgot to bring up. This is like after the show's over. I'm like, what? How did you forget to bring that up? That is so crazy. Her grandfather is one of the most important characters in the history of UFO abduction. Betty and Barney Hill, who were a couple in New Hampshire?
Yes.
Maine or
yes,
New Hampshire?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. And they get abducted and through hypnotic regression tell this crazy story of they lost time, their car stops, this UFO shows up, and then they have this classic abduction story that we have heard time and time again. And I had this conversation with someone where they were saying, do you believe in these UFO abductions? And I said, I don't believe in them, but I don't not believe in them either. I don't. I just keep a blank slate with this because their take was like, wouldn't you think more people would talk about it? More thing. I go, why would they do it that often? I go, how many unique occurrences would have to take place before it would be common knowledge? How many times would people have to be abducted before you would believe? And what would they get out of these abductions? And look, we know what we're willing to do with chimpanzees or gorillas or any other primate, orangutans that we find in the wild. They run experiments on them. They capture them. They do things to them all the time. Why wouldn't something that's infinitely more intelligent than us abduct two folks that are driving somewhere, Betty and Barney Hill? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they experiment on them? There they are right there.
And these are people that don't want attention. I mean, it's a interracial couple back in was it 50s or 60s?
Right, but it was probably in a lot of parts. I mean, it wasn't until I found out until 1967 or 68, like while I was alive, that interracial couples were allowed to marry in the entire country. So Betty and Barney Hill, it's kind of funny when I'm looking at Barney, he does kind of look like Angela.
Oh, you see the genetic.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking into it.
Have you seen the Unsolved Mysteries one on abductions, the new Unsolved Mysteries reboot?
No.
Oh, dude. Great case.
The other
Episode
case
5.
that fascinates me, besides this one, but that one surely fascinates me because it's the original, but Travis Walton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a weird one, man.
It's a solid one, too. I mean, I've met Travis a few times, and his story, like Lazar's, does not change. There are additional witnesses. What he went through is comparable to Bob. I mean, he was called a liar, and basically I think his friends were accused of murdering him, and that's a solid case. I mean,
it's a really weird one, too.
Another great case. So I met two of the girls, Salma and Liesel. And you remember that school where like 80 kids or something, I'm going to get some parts wrong, 80 kids saw these craft come down, and the BBC came the next day with Dr. John Mack, head of Harvard Psychiatry.
And he's the one who wrote that book, Abduction, which I read.
This is what got him so these kids see this craft come down South Africa and at the aerial school. And I actually got to spend a weekend with two of the primary witnesses, one that was 3 feet away from, she's telling me there was a being there. When you hear what happened to them, now the BBC did film the next day. You did have Dr. John Mack going and testing all the kids and trying to see consensus what they saw. But when I met these two women later in life, I can't dismiss what they're telling me. It's like you telling me you went to the grocery store. Why am I going to doubt you, man? That's how matter of fact they are about it. They don't know what they saw, but they know exactly what they saw. They just don't know the implications of it.
Well, John Mack experienced a lot of blowback from that book. You're talking about a guy who's was he employed at Harvard at the time?
He's head of Harvard Psychiatry.
Yeah, and so he writes this book about UFO abductions. And I actually found out about it from my friend Maura, who worked with me on news radio with Dave Foley. She actually was reading the book. She's like, this is right up your alley. She goes, it's so crazy. Like, I didn't know what to think. Somebody recommended it. But along the way, she's like, these stories are so similar. It's crazy. Like, there's all these different people that don't know each other from all over the world that have really similar stories. Like, if this thing is happening, again, how would anyone know, and how many times would they have to do it, and why would it be common knowledge? Like, if they have the ability to come here from another galaxy or another solar system, and they can penetrate our defenses and hover over a place and abduct someone and run experiments on them and put them back there with some sort of a distorted memory, which it seems to be part of the story, and many of them, that their memory is at least partially wiped and they come back very confused. Like, how many of those would take place before we would all know about it? I mean, they wouldn't have to do it that often. There's 300 million people and they do it once a week. Who the fuck is going to know?
Well,
like,
again,
how are you going to hear about it?
What's proof?
Right.
What is the level of proof? You know,
Right.
for those cases, this phenomena is elusive. It wants to show us glimpses of itself and glimpses of other realities, but it doesn't want us to be able to prove it. It's as if it's trying to tell us. It's like a learning curve, that reality isn't what it used to be, that it's way more complicated than you might think it is. That's sort of like what we got out of the ranch, is that it's putting all these different weird phenomena together when you can't really prove any of them. It's trying to tell you something. So what can you learn from it?
What's your take on Whitley Strieber?
It's a mix. I think he's a brilliant guy, and I think he did have some experiences. I don't know that the experiences continued. You get mixed signals from him. The fact that he is a great novelist, a horror novelist,
Complicates it.
complicates it. He thinks about this stuff on a different level. It used to be that we all thought it saw that alien on the cover of his book, Communion, and figured it was a space alien from some other planet. And he's on a whole different level about what they might be now.
What does he think they are?
Like, in essence, gods. I mean, Jacques Vallée had said, if you can manipulate space-time, if you can create your own gravity like the craft that Bob was talking about, you could be from other planets, other solar systems, other times. You could be time travelers. You could be from other dimensions or all of the above. Like Dr. John Mack had suggested that abductions and these strange experiences in connection with them suggest that we're part of a galactic neighborhood, a cosmic neighborhood, multi-dimensional reality that we haven't got our heads around yet. And that it's important for our ultimate survival that we figure it out.
George is.
Go ahead.
I just, George has been. Remember, he is a journalist that broke mob stories, corruption stories, political corruption stories. I mean, just last year. I mean, this guy's been doing this for 30-something years. UFOs has defined him because the world at large has defined him by the UFOs. That's because of the stigma. Now, of course, he's made lots of headway and he does the Coast show like Art Bell. But what he's doing now is.
How many years would have to go by before people were doing commercial space flight before you decided to just take a shot, see what's up?
I think it could happen tomorrow.
If somebody comes to you with a solid concept, we're going to put you in space, bring you right back down to Earth.
I don't think space is as big a deal right now. I think that it's a big business. And the fact that all the richest people in the world are in it, prove it. That'd be like saying, oh my gosh, you can't ship this package. It's going to be $5,000 on FedEx. Nah. The fact that the richest guys in the world are in it means it's very cheap and you can get the hell out of here. And
Is that what it means? I think it means there's a lot of benefit in being one of the people that innovates in space travel. If you could come up with a thing where you send people into space, and every time you do it, you could charge someone $100,000, and you get a million people a year to give up $100,000 and go flying into space. That's a lot of fucking money.
It's only $100 million.
A million people. Yeah, that's right. Still,
Yeah. I mean,
that
I don't
right?
want to talk about your
no,
past
it's not
or
right.
anything.
No, it's not 100. It's 100,000. Yeah, it's not 100 million. That's 100 billion.
Well, that's when
Right?
you start
Is that
moving
right?
commas and not zeros.
Well, that's when you do math.
Yes.
See, so if you're Jeff Bezos and you can make 100 billion doing that, I mean, you wouldn't make 100 billion. What if you make 50 every year, just putting people into space? That seems very valuable.
It's going to become a commodity very quickly.
Yeah, putting people in space.
But
Just
space is just a high-flying airplane.
Right. But if people are willing to spend a lot of money doing it, and then if you can figure out a way to escape Earth's gravity and land on on Mars or land on, Europa, on one of the moons.
Yeah.
What if you could figure out a way to fucking fly around Venus and come back home?
What the fuck is the point?
The point is the experience. Just like the point of going to Everest. Is the point being at the highest spot? Who gives a fuck if you went to the highest spot? Nobody gives a shit. But the point is the experience of going there and knowing that it's a difficult thing to do, and that it gives you an unusual vision, an unusual perspective, an experience that few people rarely see. Ad blocker, you motherfucker. Gotta disable ad blocker, son. It gives you an option.
Bullshit.
Tickets to Mars will eventually cost less than $500,000, Elon Musk says. Well, thank you, Elon. What a bargain. Only $500,000?
I could fly all the way around the fucking Earth and stop 72 times for $500,000.
But if they really do get to that point, and they probably will. Look, if you go back to the invention of the first automobile in the 1800s, and then you look at what they can do today with Jamie has a Tesla Model X. They go, shut the fuck up, bro. They're great. They go 0 to 60 so fast it doesn't seem right, and it's a SUV. They're so fast. Have you driven one?
Ludicrous mode.
I
Yeah.
have, Lucas
yeah.
Plus, actually.
Have you
the
driven
other
one
day.
like that?
Yeah.
They're preposterous. They're so
It is
fast.
insane.
So you go from that old car that was like, fucking 20 horsepower to what he's got. It's insane. Now go 1,000 years from now. There's no way you can guess. And if you look at what we can do right now, if commercial space flight is a real thing and they're flying people into orbit, there is no doubt in my mind that whatever the amount of time it is, whether it's 50 years or 100 years from now, they're going to absolutely have space flight to Mars and bring people home. They'll probably come up with some new propulsion system, some fucking wild, crazy shit that we haven't even thought of before, and it'll change everything.
It's not going to happen with this giant go straight up. It's going to have to be something that circumnavigates and gains speed.
Alien technology.
Nah, I don't know about alien technology, but it's going to have to be something that circumnavigates and gains speed.
As long as you say circumnavigates, I think you know what you're talking about. Imagine being like at NASA. What you guys need to do is fucking circumnavigates.
Exactly.
Get it around. It's not gonna go straight up, boys. Never go straight up. The Earth spins. You got to go with the spin of the Earth.
Never go straight, go
It
forward.
doesn't go straight. It looks like it's going straight, but it goes straight in relationship to where you're standing, but not in relationship to the way the Earth's spinning and the way the fucking planets are
Correct.
aligned. It's all complicated. Another fucking ad pop up.
Jesus, dude.
That just doesn't even work anymore.
I thought you were supposed to be really good at this.
He's the best. That's not the problem.
There you go.
The problem is pop up ads. NASA is launching a 4G mobile network on the moon. Yeah, well, when I have 6G, I'm not going to settle for 4G on the moon, you fucks. That's like getting like 1X in the Amazon.
Who the fuck's getting it on the moon?
Assholes.
How many customers are on the moon
Jeff
right
Bezos
now?
is going to be with that girl that you don't even like on the moon.
I just wasn't impressed
Drinking
with her.
martinis.
I mean, if I was worth, hundreds of billions of dollars, I think I could do better.
I got to pee too. So we can either wrap this up or I can pee and we keep going.
Well, I don't care.
I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah? You going to fucking dare me?
What, you got your notes?
Oh, I'm just picking up my...
Have you thought about what I said about space travel?
Yes, and I'm not disagreeing. What I'm telling you is, as a race, we take over shit.
We
Go
try.
and, we go and grab shit. We take over it. We fight about it. We say this is our land. This is your land.
Right.
If we'd have been in the moon, we'd be up there.
The argument is that every single technological achievement from 1969 is easier, cheaper, and faster to reproduce today, except going to the moon. That's the argument.
I say wrong because I was born in '69. That was fucking cheap.
What do you mean? No, the argument is that everything from then you could do cheaper today and easier, like televisions.
Yeah, but
Do
they say you
remember
can't.
Well, they didn't work at it. That's the problem. It's the only thing they didn't work at. The only other things they didn't work at is like, I mean, how much innovation have there been in air flight, in like commercial air travel? Not much.
Propellers. I mean, it's been 100
No,
years, right?
69 they were already flying jets. When did they start flying jets?
Yeah. We were
Oh, I
right
guess,
for it.
yeah. Well, then the Concorde, they stopped sort of, I guess, with the Concorde. And then they're like,
yeah.
oh.
That,
Or
that thing
or they're
killed a
not
lot of
telling
rich
us,
people.
Or they're not telling us how far they made it in space.
Well, the
or,
Concorde
flight.
killed people that they can't kill. Like that was what was that getting you to France in like 2 hours or something? Something crazy.
And couldn't it have gone faster? They just kept it there, or no?
I don't know. I think the thing that happened to them was on the runway. I think it lost a wheel or something on the runway and killed a bunch of rich people, or ran into a tire, something like
It
that.
says low passenger numbers and rising maintenance costs. I mean, it was kind of expensive, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Sure. Sorry, I gotta blow my nose. I mean, it's
Bless
going
you.
supersonic speeds. You know. I mean, how the fuck does it not break?
It wasn't that bad.
What wasn't that bad?
The price. I thought, for some reason in my head, I thought it was like
A ticket?
thousands and thousands of dollars.
How much was a ticket?
It says the fare was about $500 or just over $1,000. What today?
In
would've
what
been.
year? When did they stop?
1990.
99. That's
Oh,
kind
when
of
it
crazy.
stopped.
That was the Concorde.
Sorry, stopped in 2000.
That's kind of crazy if you think about progression. Like in 2000, you could fly at supersonic speeds commercially. You can't do that now. So that kind of throws a monkey wrench into the idea that things always get better. Because they don't always. When they cost too much money, they don't always get better.
I don't think it cost too much money. They were complaining about the sound and the sonic boom.
Oh, yeah, that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there was also the danger of it. It's like the last flight, I think a bunch of people died that were very wealthy.
Is that true?
Only 13? 113. Oh, yeah. That's a little more than 13.
That's fucking serious.
Yeah, and a lot of them were very wealthy. I think when you get hit with those lawsuits, like... So that's one of those things that from 2000 to 2020 did not get better. It actually stopped. You know, it's a lot of money to get people on the fucking moon. It's just one of those things where I think eventually they'll get to space tourism and it'll expand past the moon. It'll go to Mars, and it's going to happen. But it might happen 100 years from now. You know, it might happen 200 years from now. We might be shocked at how long it takes.
Well, then you're pleading my case right there.
Why am I pleading your case?
Because we haven't been there.
Might have did it once.
Yeah.
Might have did it once with a bunch of fucking cowboys.
Okay, you went to high school or even elementary school in the 70s, right? Mm-hmm. And you studied history.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen a picture of the flag on the moon?
Of course I have.
No, through a telescope.
Oh, me? Do you know they don't have telescopes that could actually see that clearly?
Yes,
on the
they
moon?
Can.
Really?
Yes.
Do you know how
Have you
telescopes
seen
work?
Yes.
They don't work that way. They don't like there's a like a long distance thing, and then there's a close distance thing. Like you could use magnifying things like binoculars and telescopes that are like low magnification, and you can get like a good image of something that's not too far away. But then when they started getting too far away, yes, the flag is still on the moon, but you can't see it
using a telescope.
The Hubble is not pointed at the flag. Here it goes. The Hubble Space Telescope is only 2.4 meters in diameter, much too small. Resolving the larger lunar rover, which has a length of 3.1 meters, would still require a telescope 75 meters in diameter.
So we're the most badass country in the fucking world, and we put a man on the moon, and he planted a fucking flag.
Mm-hmm.
And we ain't showing that off?
Right, but
because we're, as a country, we're like Burt Reynolds. What are you going to do? We're going to show off. That's what we do.
But did you read what that thing just said? I get your like country wisdom where you're looking at it and you're like, if we had this, we would have that. But if you look at that thing, it's saying that the Hubble only has a thing that's 2.4 meters, and you need something much larger. Was it 75? 75 meters, which is like almost a football field size, to be able to see what's on the moon. Like, they didn't have the Hubble before, right? They didn't have the ability to take these high-definition images of things that were, like, way far away. Now they do. But to have something that gets really close to things, you need something that's even more potent. It's all for people not like you or me. We're arguing about shit that we don't study. That's what
I'm not even, I don't even care about it, to tell you the truth. I'm just telling you.
Well, you brought it up on a podcast. Millions of people are listening.
I'm totally screwed now. Whatever I said.
The gas
to the
monkey
moon
bar and
people.
grill guy that you're in a fucking argument with, he's going to bring that to court. Look,
Fuck
I
that
told
fucker.
you, this guy's crazy.
Fuck
He
that
thinks
guy.
Neil Armstrong's a liar.
So, what's next, sir?
Aliens.
I don't care about
You
aliens.
think they're paying attention?
Personally, I don't.
If you were an alien, wouldn't you be fascinated by hot rod culture?
Well,
I would.
I met an old guy a long time ago, and he put it to me the right way. He goes, "What if you're just a experiment in a young kid's school project?
Mm-hmm.
What if all this that you built is basically an ant farm that you have in your head, and you're just an ant farm in somebody else's head and somebody else's head? It's kind of like the Matrix. I don't know if that defends us or defines us, but it is kind of interesting. I mean, you can't think that you're the only thing out there, or we're the only thing out here.
If we are an ant farm and we don't know that we're an ant farm and we're living and we understand how the ant farm works, the real problem is if the owner of the ant farm shows up. Up until then, we're just living. You know, if this really is like some complex ant farm for people, we're having fun. It's all good.
Yeah.
problem-
we got some weed, we got some drinks, we're having fun, we're making money,
Talking
not
about
making money.
cars,
There you
talking
go.
shit. Everything's fine. The real problem is if the ant farm owner shows up. That's the problem with these fucking UFOs that keep showing up. The ones that the New York Times puts on the front page of their newspaper. And
Is that a real newspaper?
yeah, it's a real paper. They do it in New York State. It's a city called Manhattan.
Well, no, I've been there. I know about it. I just don't know about New York Times being a paper.
Well, they're more often a paper than they are not. Sometimes they fuck things up, but they're more often accurate than not. Yeah, they were more accurate in the past than they are now. Now they're ideologically driven, and they tend to be a bit woke, but they're still probably the best newspaper on earth.
Did you
Not
say
probably.
woke?
Yes,
Woke?
woke. You know, woke. There's rules. You know, the woke rules. You don't give a fuck about those, right?
I do not.
Me neither. But do you think that aliens have visited?
I'm going to give it a 50-50. I'm going to probably lean towards yes.
Is this anything you think about on a regular basis?
Only when I'm jacking off.
We're so vulnerable. And that's one of the weirder things. Like, so first we should get into what you do, because you have a very interesting theory. Tell everybody what your background is, first of all.
Yeah, all right. That does seem like a good place to start. My background is in anthropology, biological anthropology. My research mostly focuses on evolutionary anatomy, biomedicine. I've done some archaeology, various places around the world, in Montana. But the reason I'm here, I assume, because according to my friend Matt, we were butchering a mule deer, I think I shot. And I was like, yeah, I got to go to this conference. And I was like, do you want to know what it's about? He's like, nobody gives a shit about what you do other than UFOs, man. I was like, damn it, he's right. Like, I did actually used to do a lot of what I thought was cool stuff. But no, the main thing is that I've become known for advocating for this idea that UFOs and the aliens are actually our time-traveling future human descendants. I wouldn't even say as opposed to extraterrestrials, because I do think that's a component too. I oftentimes get pigeonholed. People are like, oh, you just think they're all time travelers. I don't. I actually say this all the time, but it doesn't matter. I do think there's a lot going on. But my background and the reason I approach this question this way is because there's a lot of characteristics of these aliens that look so hominin. They look just like us. And specifically what we'd expect to see in our hominin future if the same evolutionary trends continue into the future. So I kind of just tie those things together. And even the saucer-shaped craft seemingly are time machines themselves. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version.
Well, it's a theory that a lot of people have independently sort of come to, right?
Yeah,
Like,
especially recently.
and the concept of, well, if you just think about ancient man. I was watching this documentary on Neanderthals last night about this one intact Neanderthal skeleton that they found that it had sort of been he had died in a cave, and there's stalagmites. Is stalactites or mites? How do you say it?
Tights are up, mites are down.
So he was essentially mineralized.
Mm-hmm.
There was stuff all over the body, and it took a long time for them to break this body.
I think I saw that. Was that on Netflix?
No, I was watching it on YouTube. Maybe originally it was on Netflix, but it was just documenting how strange this body was that they had found. But it was immensely strong, like much stronger than us. One of the interesting things was that their visual cortex, the part of the brain that would process imagery, was larger than ours, 10 to 20% larger.
Yeah.
And that so these things probably had better eyesight than us, perhaps even were able to see at night, and that this was a bigger, stronger version of a human being, like much more durable than what we are, modern 2025 Homo sapiens.
Yep.
If you just look, that's it. So that's one of them.
Cool.
Neither human nor Neanderthal.
Oh, really?
This is published.
Is this the same? This might not be the same one. This is maybe a different one. That's a weird one because what's that fucking thing on its head?
That's what it says. It's a stalactite growing out of it or something.
Wow, in a weird form. Weird.
Yeah, it's like a unicorn.
Yeah, like a
So
crest.
They do have a sagittal ridge.
Yes.
Homo erectus had one. There's an offshoot in our hominid lineage called the Paranthropus or robust Australopithecines, and they had a full-on like gorilla style sagittal ridge. Yeah, because they were vegetarians, so they just chewed all day.
Right, so they had massive muscles to chew.
Yeah, their whole face is huge.
Wow.
Neanderthals kind of, I mean, they were just big. It's
Yeah.
just a robusticity thing, but there is evidence from Shanidar Cave in Iraq where they were using their teeth as tools. We think they were like tanning hides. They were holding the hide in their mouth and then like scraping all the nasty bits off.
Oh.
And you can see that in the tooth wear. So yeah, they were pretty badass. They were the first. I don't know. I think this is cool, but a lot of people think I'm a nerd too. They were the first to use the flake. Like for 2.8 million years, we just hit a piece of rock and we're like, oh, this is a cool tool. But then they figured out that if you hit the rock in just the right way, the piece that falls off makes an even better tool. It took us like 2.5.
Like
yeah,
this.
exactly.
You make an arrowhead.
And from that point on, like I got to work at a place called Chez Pinot-Jonzac in southern France for a summer, and it was a Neanderthal site. And we found these. Actually, it's pretty funny because when we first got there, these tools called MTA hand axes, Musteri, and it was Schulian tradition hand axes. And there were only 8 found in all of Europe. And they said, if you guys find one of these, we'll buy you all the beer and all the cognac you can drink. So we're in the cognac region of France. And we found one like the 4th or 5th day. We went on to find 7 more over the course of that week. We doubled the number of these things in existence
Wow.
in all of Europe. And they were not lying. They bought us so many damn beers. Like archaeologists like to drink. You know,
I'm
that's,
sure.
we dig and it's boring as hell. You know,
Yeah.
it's not Indiana Jones. We're not running around banging hot chicks and flying on planes. We're like, we got a spoon and we're doing this for 8 hours. So, yeah, I actually found the last one on the last day and it was by far the worst one. Like I had to argue that it should even count as one of these. But yeah, no, it was a cool site. So yeah, they were doing well, but we were doing better. We came in and
Well,
replaced
something
them.
happened where we replaced them.
Yeah.
But the point is, as time goes on, humans today are probably the most feeble version of humans that have ever existed.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And we're the most feeble versions of people that have existed within the last century, right? Like if you go back to humans from the 1920s versus humans from the 2020s, people have way less testosterone now, way higher instances of miscarriages, way lower sperm count. You know, there's a lot of factors that are at play right now that are changing what a human is. And if you extrapolate, if you look at the future, you would naturally say, well, we're probably going to be very thin. It seems like there's at least some sort of a push to eliminate gender. Like gender seems like it's on the table as whether or not it's even necessary. There's all sorts of new technological innovations that are leading to the possibility, at least sometime in the future, of an artificial womb. There's genetic engineering with CRISPR and a lot of other different technologies that are being explored that we might be able to engineer human beings and then even create a complete individual human being without a mother, without a father. So if you thought about what that looks like in the future, like one of our problems on this planet is we all have different ideologies, different religions, come from different parts of the world. We look different. And human beings as tribal primates have a tendency to other. We other different tribes. Those are not us. We are us. Those are the enemy. We go out.
You rally around it.
But if everybody's exactly the same and we share one mind, you know, then a lot of our problems go away.
Yeah.
If we no longer have to compete for resources, we no longer have the desire to procreate and to acquire land and to be, you know, to have a territory, we eliminate a lot of our issues. And that's what these things look like. When you look at the archetypal, these iconic sort of shapes that have been on cave walls all the way up to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, one thing they share is that they have no muscle, they have large heads, they have big eyes.
And they're childlike. They're
Yeah.
very paedomorphic, as we say. Yeah, you just tied together like a lot of really important points related to this theory. Aspects of why they're always interested in our gametes, why they come back and put that little machine on a man to collect semen, why they're constantly taking eggs from females and implanting fetuses, pulling them back out later. Like they're clearly focused on reproduction, gamete extraction, and one of the things that might be fueling that in the future, if these are future humans, let's just assume for a second hypothetically, is that they might be having problems directly resulting from these trends toward self-domestication, these trends toward feminization, these trends toward reduced sperm counts, which is 60% across most populations of the world, in the industrialized world, 50% across the entire world. Problems with reproduction, in vitro fertilization, exogenesis chambers might help solve some of those problems, growing the fetus outside of the body. So yeah, and like you said, what do they look like? They look like kind of a hybrid between males and females to some extent, but there's still an essence of gender. Like if you talk to Whitley Strieber, he's with this being, he says in Communion that I had a sense that she was a woman. I don't know why, but I kind of sensed that. So it's almost like the essence of the individual, the soul of the individual still retains that sort of gender identity, even though our bodies are becoming more childlike, more gender indiscriminate. I don't know. But yeah, yet another one of those ways in which we might sort of grow together as a species.
Now, when you say they are extracting sperm, like how many of these stories do you take seriously? There's a lot of these stories.
It's a great question, yeah.
Unfortunately for any sort of spectacular public thing that's in the zeitgeist, like alien abduction, whether it's Whitley Strieber from Communion or the John Mack books, the guy from Harvard that wrote, what was it, Abduction?
Passport to the Cosmos and Abduction, yeah. Two great books.
Great books, but these are all books about encounters, close encounters of the third kind with some sort of a being from another place. Whatever it is, it's just not a human being, and it seems to be technologically at least superior to us.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be one thing they all seem to share is they seem to be able to communicate telekinetically or telepathically.
Yeah, and I mean, they aren't human, but they're very human too. So for instance, like that's one of the main reasons I started exploring this. I was actually kind of put into this when I was 8 or 9 years old, sort of activated in a way and put on this path by a weird thing that happened to me when I was a kid.
What happened to you?
Well, so I talk about it in my first 2 books, Identified Flying Objects and the Extraterrestrial Model, where I learned about a close encounter that my dad had. He was a veterinarian in Northeast Ohio where I grew up, and he was out one night on a call with another guy. So there's 2 people. As far as Jalen Hynek's reliability scale, it has more reliability because there's multiple witnesses. It's also strange on his scale because they crested the hill. There's a bright light. This is an Amish country. There's no lights in Amish country. And all of a sudden, this bright light darts toward them, hovers just above their truck, darts back to where it was, and straight up into space, like at incredible speed. So this happened before I was born, but I overheard him telling this story to some friends one night. He got Whitley Strieber's book Communion, as most people did in the 1980s, and as they should, because it's a great book. And I walked into the living room. The book is sitting on the shelf facing out. And I remember, like it was yesterday, I sort of stopped, and there was like this light, like a white light. And then I saw this image in my mind of like an early hominid chimpanzee-like creature, a modern human, and then that archetypal gray alien from the cover with this information. What if they're related? What if they are us from the future? And obviously, I mean, that's why I became a biological anthropologist. People are always like,
so you saw this?
Yeah. It was like a flash, like a light. And, it's weird looking back on it because I know a lot more about these experiences. I've talked to people that have had these types of experiences.
What was the setting?
It was our living room. So it was like you come in the front door and just to the left there's this living room, built-in bookshelf, Whitley's books right there. I just turned the corner, saw it, and then like just kind of it just came. Like I didn't know shit about evolutionary biology.
When
I
you
didn't
say
know
you
about
saw
UFOs.
it, like you saw it how?
In my mind. Just this white light.
Just an image.
And that image of the 3 faces. And then the question. could they be us from the future? And a lot of people are like, how'd you get into UFOs? Like, you're a biological anthropologist. It's the opposite. I got into biological anthropology to research this question of whether they could be us from the future.
Huh. So this, you felt like at that moment it wasn't just like a weird thought or a dream. It felt like a message. Like, what did it feel like?
Yeah. It was a tasking. You know, I think Rupert Sheldrake said it, that people don't have ideas have people. I think that was like hey, go do this thing. And I did. That's why we're here now, talking about it. And obviously, you know, you got to be careful about like selection bias and confirmation bias. Like, I didn't go into this. I didn't go into grad school. I also didn't tell anybody in grad school I was there because they would have kicked me out. But I went into it with an open mind, but I was there to study these things because of that event when I was 8 years old.
Wow. Yeah, it is a problem, the confirmation bias. It is a problem with wanting it to be real. And I struggle with that because I desperately want it to be real. And so every time I talk to someone, you know, I've talked to a bunch of people that are, you know, air quote, whistleblowers. And some of them, I think, for sure, have been sent in here to distribute disinformation.
Yeah, no doubt.
For sure, because it's a great place to do it.
Yeah.
I'll listen to you.
Yeah.
I'll entertain almost anything.
Which is great. We need that.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I mean, obviously there's people that are going to take advantage of it.
But
too.
I think it's also important for me to say I'm not convinced. I don't know how much of this is horseshit, but it's not zero.